So Maria was in ISS at that time, and whenever she was already on the bus, so whenever I got on the bus, she saw my eyes, and like my face was red. I had tears going down my face. I had my eyes, and they were filled up with tears, and I was literally biting my lips so hard so I wouldn't let them out. And she saw me, and whenever I sat down, she said, "What's wrong?" And I didn't tell her because I couldn't open up my mouth without bawling. And then she hugged me, and I just busted out in tears. And she said, "It was MJ, wasn't it?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "What happened?" And I was like, "Everybody's telling me that he's cheating on me and everything." And so after that happened, I was crying throughout the whole bus ride home. And whenever I got home, I eventually stopped crying while I was walking through the yard. And literally, whenever I got to the door, I put my hand on the door, and I ran inside and I ran to my room because I could literally, like, my eyes were just dripping tears, and it kind of looked like this. Okay, so if y'all couldn't see the picture, I'm sorry. I'm gonna try and get it on there, my hardest. Okay, so after that, I was pretty much okay, and everybody was texting me, and they were like, he's not gonna get away with this. And they're like, we're gonna do something to him. So a couple days later, it was Friday, and I was taking it really hard. So they ended up like throwing frogs at him, and literally I had no idea where they got that from. But they ended up throwing frog skin in his shirt. They had ended up tripping him in the hallways, and like literally they made his life like so hard. So, like, he would get tripped in the hallways, and they would push him, and they would call him gay, and they would throw frog legs at him and stuff. And they ended up that Friday after school, my two friends, Michaela and Maria, remember that's not their real names, but they ended up, because they're like, Miracle, let's pour a bottle of water on his head. And I was like, you want me to get an ISS? And they were like, it doesn't matter. And I was like, it matters to me. And they're like, okay, fine, since they were both like really big troublemakers, so they've been in ISS a lot of times. So they ended up doing it, and they poured a bottle of water on his head, and he literally was soaking wet. And I was like, y'all, why are y'all doing that? And they're like, because he hurt you. And I said, it doesn't matter, y'all don't need to be doing that. So a couple days went by, and I noticed that Michaela's kick ended up saying for 7:15, and I was like, okay, she's taken. And I was like, because Michaela had ended up dating MJ too, but I was like, there's no way she's dating MJ, no way. And well, a couple of days later, it was a Friday, and we had ended up getting our phones out in class, and I told my friend, I was like, ask Michaela who she's dating, and then she asked her, and then she looked at me, and she just looked shocked, and I was like, what happened? I was like, well, who's she dating? And she said, and she read me the message, and the message said, tell her I'm sorry, but I'm dating MJ. And my heart just dropped. I put my head down, like, literally my head was up because I didn't think it would bother me, and it did. My eyes filled up with tears, and I put my head down on the desk, and I ended up crying. And that day was my last day of lunch detention, so I was in lunch detention just crying and like thinking, why did she do this to me? Well, after lunch detention, I went, because I got dismissed, and so I went to my fourth period class, and Maria was like, gave me a hug, and she's like, dude, I'm sorry, I heard what happened. And I was like, yeah, it's cool. And basically my eyes were like really puffy and really red, and I had tears going down my face, and I still had tears in my eyes. And she gave me a hug, and then my friend said, I don't know why it bothers her if her and MJ weren't even dating. And Maria was like, she was like, it doesn't matter if they were dating or not. What matters is that Michaela's her friend, and Michaela shouldn't have done that because it hurt her, and she knows that she shouldn't have done that. And so after that, I didn't talk to Michaela for a really, really long time because I could not bear to look at her. And she ended up, every time that I was sitting next to her on the bus, she ended up always talking about her and MJ. And if I was standing by her in the bus line, she would end up calling MJ over there. And I was like, oh my gosh, really? Basically, so after that, I ended up talking to her for like the first time, and this was during softball season because she had came to one of my softball games, and she had come to one of my softball games, and this was the first time I had ended up talking to her because I was actually trying to avoid her for a pretty long time. I was just trying to avoid her for the rest of the year, and I was just trying to avoid her. But she ended up coming to one of my softball games, and I was like, okay, whatever. And she ended up talking to me, and she was like, hey, I have something to tell you. And I was like, what? And she said, I'm moving to San Antonio. And I was like, oh, cool. And she said, yeah. And I was like, so what's going to happen between you and MJ? And she said, oh, we're still going to be together and everything. And I was like, oh, whatever. Well, after she moved, they were still together, and I actually found out that MJ ended up cheating on her after she had moved. And I just didn't have the heart to tell her because I was like, okay, you know what? I want her to get hurt as much as she hurt me. And, well, she never found out, but I guess MJ ended up breaking up with her, though. After 7 months of being with her, he ended up breaking up with her because she didn't talk to him or nothing. So here comes summer. Summer is right around the corner, and it's summer, and I ended up missing Michaela so much, and we ended up talking every single day. And, well, I was on my new softball team, my summer league team, and she ended up coming to one of my games, and I literally was so happy. Like, whenever I hugged her, I felt like crying. Like, that's how much I missed her. And we took a bunch of pictures and everything, and I asked her, I was like, hey, what's going on between you and MJ? And she was like, oh, I broke up with him. And I was like, oh, really? And she's like, yeah. And she's like, I'm with this new guy. And then a couple days later, well, that was a couple days earlier that I asked her about that, and she told me that she was dating this other dude. Well, she came to my softball game, and I was like, hey, so what's going on with you? And we're going to call him... Okay, his name was Isaiah. So, I was like, what's going on between you and Isaiah? And she said, oh, I broke up with him. And I was like, why? And she said, because he was texting my best friend, and he said that he wanted to fuck her. And I was like, oh, okay. And then she said, so I'm back with MJ now. And literally my heart stopped. I felt like crying, but I held it back because I didn't want her to know. Well, I got on the field, and the next day comes, and it's summer. I ended up dating him again, but I didn't end up getting hurt that many times. Oh, wait, no. So while he was dating her, and it was still during school, we were dating while he was dating her, but I didn't know he was dating her because she didn't tell me or nothing. And so I ended up meeting him at the bowling alley, and he was waiting right there for me. And I was just so happy to see him. Like, literally, I ran into his arms, and I gave him a hug, and I was so happy to see him. And a couple days later, I find out that he's dating Michaela, and I was like, dude, why didn't you tell me? And she said, why does it matter? And I said, oh, it doesn't matter. Never mind. So I never told her that I was dating him because I didn't want to start anything. And come around summer, again, he was dating her again, and I actually knew this. I knew this time that he was dating her because she had told me, and I was like, I found out that he was dating her, and I was like, hey, he said, do you want to date? And I was like, you're dating Michaela. And he said, but she doesn't have to know. And I was like, okay. The next day came around after we were dating, and somehow my friends were at the bowling alley, and they saw one of the girls that told me the third time that he was cheating on me, and I was like, okay, whatever. And they ended up telling her. I only told them two, because I knew that they could keep it a secret. Well, they ended up telling somebody, and that person told Michaela. Michaela ended up texting me like really mad the next morning, and she said, "Are you dating MJ?" She said, "I'm not gonna be mad or nothing," and I knew that she was. Like, seriously, I knew she was. And I told her no, and I just covered it up with a lie. And he said, "We can't talk anymore," and I was like, I didn't tell anybody. And so then we stayed together, and basically we stayed together, but it was kind of rough. And so I told her, I said, "What would you have done if you would have found out that I was dating MJ?" And she said, I would have cared, like, I would have wanted to fight you, but I wouldn't have done it because you're, like, a sister to me, and yeah. So nothing really bad happened, but she never knew that I was dating him, and eventually I got the courage to tell her that I was jealous that she was dating him, because I did still have feelings for him and everything. And whenever I told her that, she said, "Miracle, I really don't care, but..." She said, "Miracle, I do care, just don't try and come on to him or nothing." I was like, "No, I'm not, because I'm not going to hurt you." And she said, "Yeah, okay." And I ended up seeing him a lot of times after that. But we never talked. We've actually talked a couple times, like in the past 2 weeks, but not that much. And everything's like a lot better, but I don't talk to Michaela anymore, and I don't really talk to him. He's a freshman now, and I'm a 7th grader, and he's barely going to be a freshman. Michaela's going to be an 8th grader, I'm going to be a 7th grader, and he's going to be a freshman. So we're like really far apart, but literally we're one age apart. We're one age apart from each other, because I'm 13 and he's 14, so, yeah. But I still, to this day, I like still have feelings for him and stuff, but I'm with somebody that's like way better, and yeah. So that was my story today's story time of my confusing on and off relationship. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment down below. And remember, on August 24th, I'm going to be starting daily vlogs, and August 24th is a Monday. I'm going to be doing daily vlogs starting then. And I'm also, that Monday morning, I'm going to do how I get ready for my morning routine for the first day of school. And as soon as I wake up, I'm going to record. And yes, that's all for this video. But just make sure that you check out my daily vlog starting on August 24th, the first month. That's a Monday, August 24th, 2015. And make sure you check out my morning routine whenever it comes up. So, yeah, thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe.